There are problems that begin at birth. Even though we may be good at braces, we're not doing anything to stem the tide of malocclusion or crooked teeth. You start treatment when you discover that poor habits that are going to create problems, and you address the habits, not the teeth. There are problems that begin at birth. We can see problems as soon as a baby tries to nurse with its mom. We can see problems within the mouth, with the tongue, with functions that are eventually going to affect the way the jaws grow. So there are things that we can address very early on, even before their teeth. And as soon as teeth come in, we can also detect formations of the face that are going to, portend problems later on. Studies show that 100 years ago we didn't need to breathe nearly as heavy as we do now. Many kids are walking around with their mouths open, their tongue hanging down away from the roof of the mouth, and this alters the way the jaws grow. So our faces are changing. They're changing in their size and shape, and teeth try to come in and fit into jaws that are undersized and just don't have a chance. Orthodontics pretty much overlooks that phenomenon and just looks at straightening the teeth. But one of the side effects of that kind of thinking is that when you don't have enough room for the teeth, often you wind up taking some of them out as part of the solution. Well, what Myobrace does is look at those underlying causes and tries to deal with them. We teach kids to breathe through their nose, keep their lips together, keep their tongue resting on the roof of the mouth so the jaws can grow in their proper and full size. Then there's plenty of room for the teeth, and often the teeth will come in straight even before you get to the braces. In this part of the world, we're on the forefront. But really, all around the world, people have recognized that this is a better way to do things. Yeah, see, she was doing pieces there. And I don't know if it's done yet.
How are you? Hi, how are you? Do you guys play sports?
I used to.
Yeah? What
I used to play soccer.
Me too.
Soccer.
Soccer? Yeah?
I'm going to try and go ice skating. Last time I went and I practiced and I got very good. Is it hard when you first start to fence?
Yeah, it was hard because I was playing, soccer and basketball and fencing, and I kind of just tried it for fun, and it ended up, being something I loved. How old are you guys?
7, 6,
6,
8, 10,
9,
11.
I like using your Myobraces. Do you sleep with it at night?
Yes.
I'm gonna come check on you guys.
Yes.
Do you like the exercises? Did you find them fun? Yeah? It's good. So it's fun, and it's good for you, and it's important.
Well, the Myobrace activities are an important part of the treatment, just as important as wearing the appliances. The activities are really teaching the kids the good, healthy habits that help the face grow properly. So they deal first and foremost with breathing. We want children to be able to breathe through their nose using their diaphragm at a low volume that's sufficient for the body's needs.
During the light breathing activity, I will explain how to breathe through your nose using your tummy muscles while you are standing, sitting, or lying down.
The second thing is we want to teach good lip and tongue posture so that whatever function that the child's going to be doing, whether it's chewing or swallowing or speaking, the tongue is in the right place to begin those movements. It's just like in any athletic sport, there's always a neutral position that you start from. If you start off imbalanced, your movements are going to be imbalanced.
Yes. High five. Yeah.
This activity will show you an easy way to find the correct resting position for your tongue. Start this activity by placing the tip of your tongue just behind your front teeth, where the roof of your...
And then lastly, we teach about swallowing, because that's a very basic function that can work against the way the teeth come in and often works against braces too.
To begin, make sure the tip of your tongue is on the spot. You will need to make sure it stays there while you swallow.
By teaching good breathing, lip posture, tongue posture, and swallowing, we set the trajectory of growth in the right direction.
The Myobrace appliances work by teaching your tongue to rest in the correct tongue resting position. Breathe through your nose normally and swallow the right way.
Myobrace activities help this by stretching, strengthening, and retraining your tongue, lip, and cheek muscles, as well as improving the way you breathe. If you can control where your tongue is positioned and the way you breathe, then your treatment time will be shorter. Your teeth will naturally become straighter, and your jaws will develop the right way.
People ask me all the time, when do you start? And for most people, their thinking is that it has something to do with the teeth. A lot of people think you have to wait for baby teeth to fall out before you start braces. Some people start when just some of the baby teeth have fallen out and the new ones are coming in. But the premise behind this kind of treatment is you start treatment when you discover that poor habits that are going to create problems, and you address the habits, not the teeth. It's a very different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah? There you go.
Thank you.
And the sister's name should be on that.
We're glad.
There are millions of adult Americans that are suffering from poor breathing, especially at night. They have snoring, they have flow limitation, they have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is becoming a problem that we're more aware of, and it has serious consequences from health, and that it puts a lot of strain on the heart, socially, because a lot of people fall asleep at the wheel. Many of the accidents, these terrible accidents, cars, boats, trains, and so forth, are from people that are just not getting a good night's sleep. Well, we can connect the dots backwards from the adults that are having sleep and breathing issues now back to the formation of their face and their airway when they were kids. So what we think we're doing now is not only helping kids grow up with straighter teeth. That's really just that's icing on the cake. More so, we're helping them grow up with a good full airway so that they can breathe properly all day, all night for better health and wellness.
The PACES activity will help you develop better breathing control and make it even easier to breathe through your nose. To start the activity, put your Myobrace in your mouth. Then put your finger over your lips to help you remember to keep them closed. Now breathe in gently through your nose, then out. On the out breath, pinch your nose together, hold your breath, and begin walking while you count how many steps you can take until you need another breath.
In healthcare today, we're starting to realize that just treating symptoms is not going to help us in the long run. It may get us out of pain, it may restore function temporarily, but unless we address the reasons why people are getting sick, we're really not going to have a healthy population in the long run. Many of us are suffering from chronic non-communicable diseases of lifestyle, such as obesity and heart disease and fatty liver disease, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, the list goes on and on. We think that because these diseases were not nearly as prevalent 300-400 years ago, that they're not things that are inherited. They're things that are a result of things that we are doing in our post-industrial environment. The food we eat, the air we breathe, the way we take care of our bodies and so forth. So those are all really big issues, right? Crooked teeth seems to pale in comparison, but crooked teeth were also not prevalent 400 or 500 years ago. It's really a modern phenomenon, and it is getting worse with each generation. So even though we may be good at braces, we're not doing anything to stem the tide of malocclusion or crooked teeth. Unless we look at why this is happening, we're not going to be able to deal with it at all, except to make the teeth straight and appear straight. That's great for the prom picture, but that's not necessarily good for health. So now we're trying to look at the reasons we're getting sick, and there's a lot of work being done in both medicine and dentistry looking at these root causes and trying to deal with them. The anthropologists will tell you if you look at skulls 400 or 500 years ago that it's very difficult to find more than just a few crooked teeth. Plus, there was always room for wisdom teeth. Nowadays, 80% of people have their wisdom teeth pulled because there's not enough room for them. Well, that's not a problem of the wisdom tooth, it's a problem that jaws never fully filled out to accommodate the wisdom teeth being the last ones to come in. So it's, yeah, isn't it?
Really interesting.
It's just another sign that our modern environment is taking a toll on our health.
Hey guys, I'm Jessie, and today I'd like to tell you something really important about what we eat and how it affects our body. To those of you who don't know, most signs of bad health start with the mouth. Today there are lots of kids with tooth decay that don't know why they have it or how to avoid it. It's good to know what tooth decay is so that you can prevent it from happening to you.
If people ask me why their children's teeth are crooked, I used to say, well, you get it from your parents, and maybe you get the jaw size from one parent and the tooth size from another, or some kind of mixture of that sort. That's kind of the easy way to explain it. But when you consider the fact that just a few hundred years ago the teeth were not crooked, it can't be in the genes. Genes don't change that fast. Our genetic structure now is the same as it was 20,000 years ago. So it's not really a genetic phenomenon at all. They call it epigenetic because our genes are being triggered by the interaction with the environment. And again, we're talking about things that we're eating that our bodies never had to eat before, things that we're breathing that our bodies never had to breathe before, and our ways of behaving that we never had to, that we never did when our bodies were in their formative stages, in an evolutionary sense. For instance, we never used to sit in chairs until, several hundred years ago. It's kind of a new behavior for the human animal, right? But it's taken a big toll on our posture. We slouch, we slump. We're now with phones and iPads and computers at our desk, we're sitting with our heads forward off our shoulders more than ever, and it takes a toll. Interestingly, there was a dentist who traveled the world in the 1930s and 40s. He's known by people that are interested in nutrition. His name was Weston Price. He traveled around the world and looking at populations, and this is all around the world, from North Pole to South, populations that were still eating their indigenous food, the traditional foods that their racial heritage would eat. They would have big, beautiful faces with lots of room, straight teeth, and no cavities. But as soon as they were introduced to a westernized diet, which is processed food and sugar, their faces would start to change within one generation and continue to get worse generation after generation. So we're now in the third, fourth generation since the industrial food revolution took hold, where we're eating foods that are being produced by industrial, agricultural, and processing methods. And you look at the labels on foods, certainly none of that grew in nature. Not the additives, the antibiotics, the preservatives, the colorings, and so forth. Most of those are made of petroleum, and we were never meant to eat petroleum.
Almost every packaged food contains sugar in some form or another. If you look on the back of the packets, you will find the hidden sugar content. Here are a few to look out for. Sugary breakfast cereals, cookies, cakes and pastries, sweets, chocolate bars, dried fruits, sticky food, and packaged food. The main ones for drinks are soft drinks, energy drinks, fruit juice, and flavoured milk.
Well, I know it's the future, just as the future of medicine has to be looking at root cause, the future of orthodontics is also going to be looking at root cause. And because we're just taking care of the symptoms and not really the problem, conventional orthodontics will have a place because it is important to look nice in our society, but it's more important to be able to breathe well and to be able to get a good night's sleep and to have good health because of it and so forth. So at least a segment of orthodontics is going to be devoted to helping children develop good airway, good breathing, good posture, and good health. Lips together. All right, now smile big. Well, what Myobrace does is look at those underlying causes and tries to deal with them.